Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bright Founders Talk at Temi. Now, Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Welcome to our podcast, where we bring you the most inspiring stories of entrepreneurs and experts in the software development industry. And each week, we interview successful leaders who share their unique journeys and valuable insights. I'm your host, Barry, and today we're lucky enough to have a remarkable guest joining us, Jonas Ehrenstein, co-founder and managing director at Compelling. Hello, Jonas. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Barry. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to speak with us. For those who don't know who you are or the company that you work for, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the company, please?
Yeah, sure, totally. So, my name's Jonas. I'm 33 years old currently, almost 43. I've spent most of my time in advertising, actually. Always have been more on the technical side, but not necessarily the typical coding person, I guess. But so a few years ago in like 2019, 2020, decided to kind of try to work on an own project that developed into a company in 2022. Today, the name of the company or the product is Compelling. And we basically built a platform that does all of the research and orchestration work that you have to do in go-to-market. So go-to-market teams use the platform to basically streamline their operations and be more efficient in their daily doing.
So being like a co-founder or a founder of a company is quite the task. Like, what made you take that leap from your normal everyday job to being a co-founder?
What most interested me in my work before was that you always had like kind of new challenges in terms of what you did in your daily business or like in client projects, because like working in an agency, you never know what you will actually will get. And I think this is like something that really interests me, is kind of like being able to tackle new problems every day. And I thought that founding a company probably would be pretty much that. So I just always thought that it would be like something I would really enjoy. And it turns out now, a few years in, I still do enjoy it.
That's lucky, isn't it? Took a bit of a gamble there, but it paid off in the end.
Yeah.
So who is this actually built for?
Yeah, so for example, let's say you work in sales or you work in marketing in general. You are in the go-to-market space, and most of the time you work with lots of data. You need to enrich data. You need to let's say qualify leads, whatever. And most of the time you will have manual work in order to research the data, in order to make decisions, build your strategy, all of that. And we basically built a tool for people who want to streamline this process, for teams who want to use data in order to make better decisions, in order to be able to, let's say, contact leads with like relevant information at the right time with the right message, to just have like a better chance of like closing deals at having higher conversion rates and all of that. And that's basically what we built with Compelling, with like I think like two things that are mostly important about is. One is we are from Germany, so data security, or especially data protection, is a big thing. So Compelling is special in that regard, that all of the data that we do source and research for you is actually research from publicly available data. So we don't like integrate like third-party data providers where you don't know where the data is coming from or stuff like this. And then also we built a platform in a way where it's really accessible for like non-technical people. So we didn't want to have like a platform that's really complicated to use. So you can really use it as like a normal like sales or go-to-market person.
So how does Compelling actually use data and automation to like improve marketing performance?
Yeah, so for example, let's say you have inbound leads, maybe coming through like website visitors or like through different platforms where you identify, let's say, their intent. And you would not necessarily know a lot about these leads. You maybe know like what company it is, and then their website. Maybe like some more information, but you don't really have any more that you can touch on in terms of, is this actually like a company that fits into my ICP? Like, is this a company that really fits into my profile of companies that I want to have as my customers, that I already have lots of customers in this profile. And to understand this, in like the a few years ago, companies would go like, okay, like how many employees does this company have, and like how much revenue are they making, and is this the same as the other customers I already have? But I mean, you can do this with compelling, but I don't think it's enough in today's world. You have to go in way deeper, and that's why. Or how you use compelling, right? So you can use it to basically ask any question. I mean, sure, there will be questions that we cannot answer for you, right? Because not all of the data is out there. But you use it to ask questions that are really close to what's relevant to you, to your value proposition of your company, to the value you actually provide. And then you can get really close to basically have a full picture of, let's say you have like a list of like thousands of inbound leads that you want to pre-qualify. You want to know which one to call tomorrow, let's say. And using all of these data points that are relevant to you, that are super specific to your value proposition, to your company, you can get like a really clear picture of like what are the top tens, right? And that's where compelling, the name actually comes from, is like from compelling events. So like having the information about something that's related to this company that helps you better understand if you are currently like the provider of a solution that this company really needs right now, right? That's what you actually want to find out, and that's what compelling can help you with.
So when a new client comes to you and they say, like, I'm really keen on working with you, like, what is like the most important first step to unlocking the potential?
So I think there's two answers to that question. So one, obviously, if you want to, I mean, we're an automation tool, so like connecting all of your sales stack, I guess, sales tech stack or go-to-market tech stack is relevant. So having in a CRM, for example, will help you to be more efficient in general. So if you can, like you connect your CRM to compelling, you maybe connect like other outreach tools or other tools in your tech stack that provide data or that use the data. So compelling is really all about integration. So we can help you also orchestrate all of that. And then on the other side, it's also something related to, let's say, how much you already know about yourself, right? Not yourself personally, but about the company, about your value proposition and all of that. Knowing your ICP, for example, is something that can be really helpful if you're trying to find companies that are inside your ICP, right? So being able to identify, to at least be like, okay, this is a company that I want to work with, or this is a type of company that I've already worked with, and these are the reasons why this company was really or seems to be really relevant. And then obviously you can use compelling in the beginning to also test and find out, right? To see like what data points can I find for companies, and like I said, this can be like for one company, they want to know how much electricity they did use last year, and the other company wants to know like what type of employee benefits they're offering, and the third one wants to know if you talked about something, like if a specific person in this company talked about something like in the last 30 days on LinkedIn. Like it can be all of these three, or it can be only one of these. So yeah, like I said, super specific to everyone's case. But you need to have like some sort of idea what you want to do with compelling or what direction you want to go. But yeah, besides that, you can try a lot of things. And yeah, if you have some sort of tech stack that you can already provide, and also have like a team that can benefit from compelling, it's also, yeah. But we also have like customers who are like in the early stage, like founders, startups, and all of that. So you don't necessarily have to have like a sales team already.
I went on your website and I've seen some amazing testimonials from some of your clients. When they come to you, are they reluctant ever to make the jump into like automation and AI? I feel like it's the way that we're going, that everyone just needs to accept that we are going in that direction. Are companies like reluctant, or are they quite excited about the prospect of using AI in their marketing and management?
I think it depends largely on the company. So there is like kind of like two worlds in that regard. There's like the AI GTM automation bubble where everything is already automated. We are not the only solution on the market, obviously, right? This is like a really crowded market, I think I can say that. And they already know what they want to do. They have their reasons why they want to work with compelling, maybe data compliance, maybe the ease of use, maybe it's something else. But this is something where we don't have to explain anything, or we don't have to really, like you should do automation. They already know that they're possibly already doing it, or at least know that they want to do it. And then there's some companies that are more reluctant to it. Some also misunderstand what compelling is. So I think there's like a term out there, like AI SDRs, where you are really like, I am going to automate everything from like the beginning to the end. I don't know if this will ever work. I don't think it's working good right now, not what I've seen. And that's also not what compelling is. Like we are not like saying we automate the job of like an SDR or whatever. We definitely help them to do what they are good at, like talking to people, which I still think is like an important part in sales. But we want to do the part that's not so fun, like the research part and the orchestration part and all of that. And sometimes you have to, like kind of explain that to companies. And then also sometimes they don't actually know yet that they have this problem, right? Because if it's a company that's maybe like not that technological or not that modern, they sometimes don't necessarily understand what we're actually doing. So we first have to explain like what the problem is that they might be having, and then like from there you then can go. But I don't feel necessarily that there's like a hesitance towards like, oh, I don't want to use AI or something like that. Mostly when it's going into that direction, it's more about like, okay, like how secure is your platform? Like how can you, like show us that like you don't use the customer data to train your models or whatever. So it's more than about like data security, and we are still in Germany, so it's a big thing. But yeah, this is I feel like what we've seen so far from like different types of customers.
Are there any like common mistakes that companies make in terms of marketing? You mentioned there maybe talking about like over automation. There is a risk of like giving too much automation and taking away the human contact. I suppose, can you see a future where well, maybe not you personally, but your company is doing like everything from the background to the sales included, or are those two very distinct differentials at the moment?
So I'm a big believer in like the best of breed approach from like a software development standpoint. So I think there's solutions that are really good at like one thing, and I think for now that's like my the way I think about compelling is we are not like this not that horizontal solution that like does everything from A to Z. I think we really focus on like the part of where we help you to like get relevant data. I think we can get a little broader in the way we do it. Maybe we like come to that later, but in general, I think for us, we focus on this one thing. There's lots of things that might change. I don't know if we will have like an interface in 5 years, right? Maybe, like we are just an API or an agent or whatever. I think this is like a direction that's really not that hard to imagine. But yeah, besides that, I think right now for many, I think I have to say it largely depends on like how big your market is, for example. Like if you have like hundreds of thousands or millions of company in your market and you want to automate everything, like what could go wrong, I guess. Like if you have like a total of 500 or like a total of 100 companies worldwide that might ever buy your product, like don't do it, right? I mean, so I guess like there's an argument to be made that there's like there needs to be some distinction between like the size of your market and what type of product and all of that. But yeah, in general, I think you can over automate, especially if you try to. That's what everyone did in the beginning, right? People were like, "Oh, I can write AI emails." Yeah, like great. This is like the last thing you should do. You have to like have the data and you have the reasoning and you need the context, right? And when you have all of that, yeah, maybe you can have like an AI write like the first sentence of your email because you want to show how relevant your case is that that you want to show. I think maybe that's a mistake some companies make. Is like, yeah, so now we are going to AI generate like 1 million emails without like actually having relevant data, and I'm not going to tell like every one of my prospects that I know where they went to school in the first sentence of the email. So I don't think this is like, sometimes people like mistake relevance for like personalization. I think this is probably one of the biggest things that I've seen. But also this was, I feel like it's kind of in the past. I feel like at least the majority of like the go-to-market bubble has like moved on from like personalization to like understanding that it's actually about the context. And this is way more important than anything else.
I'm really curious about how you see the future going in terms of AI and automation. We've talked there about some of the mistakes, but if you were to maybe your company, maybe in a broader sense, how do you see AI changing the way like marketing teams operate maybe next 4 or 5 years?
I mean, I think it's going to get really interesting in terms of So what we already see, or what we are already seeing, is that some like now there was like a few years ago, everyone talked about having intent data on like actual intent of companies, so they are going to buy now. Now we have all these signals. I still don't think there's like any like intent necessarily always there. It's more about like what type of signals you can get. And even these signals are sometimes now get like oversaturated, right? Now everyone can see like you're hiring, and everyone has this information, and now everyone is going to jump the second you post like a job ad into a certain direction. Like everyone is going to use that signal to sell you something that's related to that. And I think it's going to probably like get worse in that regard. That like there's more signals and more data sources and all of that. And then there will be like different ways. Maybe it's even we've lots of customers who use compelling to like prepare themselves for like offline events, or like do the work after offline events. So it's not necessarily everything about automating, like the outreach part. I think it's in a big case is also like automating everything that's before that. That's also when we change, or like when we move in a direction in terms of like where we are in like the value chain. I think we will go like further, like a few steps back in terms of where you actually generate the value. Like when you think about, okay, right now, like I said in the beginning, right now you have to kind of know what ICP you're looking for. Let's say we can help you with figuring that out. Granted, you have like, I don't know, maybe 10 customers or something like that, and we can tell you, hey, there seems to be like some similarities between these customers you already have, and maybe we can find more that like a person wouldn't find. I think this is one thing, and then the other, I don't know if it's like science fiction or whatever you want to call it, but I feel like, and this is also the vision that we have for compelling, is like being able to kind of like look around the corner, right? Being able to kind of like not necessarily what's coming, but maybe like the direction it's going to go. And I think this is without going in too deep into like forecasting and the possibilities there, but I think this is also a direction that we're going to see more of when we start using more signals that are not necessarily easy to understand for human, but are easy to understand for like an AI, or like for an algorithm. Let's call it that. So this is also going to be way more interesting when we can like use lots of signals that not necessarily are known to have like a certain outcome, but if you combine them and understand the history of them, then maybe you can like have a look into the future, I guess.
I suppose one of the questions that I have is like, are you an experimenter? Are you someone who's very much driven to flights of fantasy? You mentioned there about maybe you're a little bit fantastical for the future. Are you quite grounded? Are you quite practical? Or are you more like trying to push what you can achieve with AI to the maximum? Or are you kind of restrained a little bit?
I think it depends on the circumstance, I guess. So I've always been someone who's like really eager to try everything, especially in terms of technology. Maybe with the age, like it gets a little less over the years, I feel like. But I'm still, I'm really interested in trying new stuff. Definitely like looking at it, seeing what you can do with it. I think being really early to technology can be like um, a great enabler of like building a company and all of that. That doesn't necessarily mean like right now, like there's so much talk about like open claw, for example. Like this is something that's for us like in our like daily business, not necessarily something where like, okay, this is going to like change everything we do. I mean, if you read it, if you like look through LinkedIn, you're going to see like how it changes whole businesses potentially. I don't know, but I want to I want to try everything. I want to be able to see potential value, but then again, you also especially in the last years and the last year especially, how quick like things change. Sometimes you don't even get to like try things. We have like have a benchmark for models in order to see like how well they perform with like the agent network that we've running, just to see like like in terms of accuracy and the cost that we are running it at and all of that. And sometimes you will like have 2 new like model versions per week or something like that, right? And you cannot realistically keep up with that. But yeah, in general, I'm really a big fan of like trying new things. I'm also like guilty of like trying to automate stuff that's not necessarily needs automation just for the sake of it. So yeah, I think these two feed into each other.
In your mind's eye, do you have an idea of what like the perfect performing marketing team would look like, especially in the attributes of what they would use AI for?
So I think for marketing, there is definitely a case to be made for like being able to really accurately tell the quality of a lead, to like qualify a lead, what they call it. So you have like these marketing qualified leads, and then go into sales and all of that. And I think qualifying leads is something that you can really good like automate already. And with everything that's coming, this will get way better. So there's no argument anymore for like, okay, like these are marketing leads and they, like they're not that good. That's what, like the sales teams would say. So I think marketing can use AI greatly in terms of that. You can also, use AI for like, I don't know, like ad generation and all of that. That's not necessarily I think what we are in right now. I know there are platforms that already also moved into that direction, and like you can potentially use compelling to like do account-based marketing, for example, which is also like a great thing that was really expensive to do like in the past years, and now with like everything that we've been able to do got yeah, affordable, I would say, and you can do really great things with that in terms of targeting and all of that. So yeah, I think AI is a good place there. And then in sales, I think it's the same, like everything up to the point where you try and like contact a person, or when you get into contact with a person. I still think like it's really weird to like have a phone call with an AI. At least for me, I don't. I mean, there are other people who like don't care, but especially like in sales, I feel like, and this also again depends on like a market and the type of companies you sell to and all of that. But yeah, for me right now, there's like in sales, there's like a clearer cut between like what you can do and should do with AI and what you can and potentially shouldn't do. So yeah, that's it's a little different in sales than it is in marketing for me.
And what does success look like to you?
So in terms of my company, what I want to see is basically that we are able to show that what our vision is actually like where the market is going. So like being able to show, okay, this is the one thing that teams need right now, and then also there's like a value in the way that we provide it. Obviously, like with like an European a twist on it. So I think this is something that I really would like to see, because obviously like there are big competitors in the US as well. The European market looks a little different. So yeah, being able to be like the, let's say like sales intelligence or like business intelligence layer for like the EU, something like that would be like really great, where we like can provide companies with like the relevant information to do like strategic decision making and all of that. I think this is where we want to go.
And we are slightly running out of time, so just one more question for you, and if I
Sure.
may. So, with your experience of co-founding a company, if there's anyone watching this, someone thinking of starting their own company, what would be the best piece of advice that you could give them?
So for drawing from all of my mistakes made, wait as long as you can before you actually found a company. Especially again, probably true for Germany, because it's not that easy to do. I guess when you're in a different country where it's like a little more easier, maybe you can do it early. But yeah, there's lots of stuff that comes with it. Like when you found a company, we found it probably in hindsight, we probably found it like 2 years too early or something like that. But there's lots of stuff that happens that you actually don't know. And this also uh, would go with the second part of advice. So I'm a like product person. My co-founder in the beginning was also a product person, and we developed a product which wasn't compelling. It was not compelling, and it wasn't compelling. And we didn't solve a problem. We just build something for the sake of building it. And we took quite a long time to figure out that you should start like with a problem that you want to solve and kind of like first feel if there's like a market for it, and like sell before you build and all of that. That no, I know. So yeah, I would definitely say like in the beginning, try to sell something if like really at the point where you think, okay, this is something, there's like a market for us, there's this and that. I mean, building when we started in 2022 was like a little different. Now you have to like it's got a little easier to have like your first prototype and all of that, which is crazy because it's like only 4 years, but still. Yeah, I think these would be like my first my two biggest things that I can share.
Perfect, Jonas. It's been such an interesting conversation. I just want to thank you so much again for taking time out of your day. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, it was great for me as well. Thank you.
That was Jonas Ehrenstein, co-founder and managing director at Compelling.